Notes for my January 2024 reading of Restless Fires is a 2012 book by James B. Hunt, Mercer University Press, 2012, published edition hardcover. It's 235 pages. I'll put the ISBN in the video description. It's what 9-780-881-463-927, which is also on the book itself. And I started reading the book on Wednesday, 3 January 2024, and finished reading the book on Tuesday, 9 January 2024. So that's including the start and end day, 7 days. And so, introduction, anything else for the introduction? I have not read this before. And it is a copy of this book that was in the King County Library System, and I checked out from the Kirkland Library, Kingsgate Library in Kirkland. And if I remember, and I'm feeling ambitious, I'll link my video where I introduced this book to my to-read list. And it was filmed when? December? Something like that. 2023? Oh, it might have been before that even. Point B, November, December 2023. I'll link in the video description. And so let's delve into it. So up first, book notes. So that is going to include things such as design, construction, and title. So this is what the book looks like. I like the hardcover. I did, for the pages are on the thicker side in terms of weight. There are, it's the same font throughout there, and the tops of the pages. It's the title of the book and then the subtitle of the book. So the title of the book is Restless Fires, and then the subtitle of the book is Young John Muir's 1,000-mile walk to the Gulf in 1867 to 68. But there's kind of, it's that abbreviated subtitle. As for the title of the book, so I like the construction. There's a combination of text, notes, select bibliography, index, some portraits, some maps, some photocopies, I suppose, of notes that John Muir wrote and/or drawings John Muir made himself. So there's a diversity of, it's not just text, there's visuals as well. And then how that's kind of part of the design, and then how that's constructed is the visuals tend to be kind of in line with the text, so to speak. And the summary of the book, instead of being on the inside front jacket, is on the back of the book, and the about the author is here. And James B. Hunt, as a professor emeritus of history at Whitworth University in Spokane, Washington State, and I'm filming this in the city of Shoreline, Washington State, United States of America, Planet Earth the Original. I'm Tanis Coralee Leonhardi. This is my YouTube channel, Tanis Leonhardi, and I'm filming this on Tuesday, 9 January 2024, after just finishing the book. And then the last thing, Restless Fires, young John Muir's 1,000-mile walk to the Gulf in 1867 to 68. How do I feel about the title? So the title, I think, matches the tone of the book in terms of content, in that it's a bit about the restless fires inside and how to quell that as a person, and how John Muir did that through this 1,000-mile walk. So it's true to content. Though it was a little, at the beginning of the book, a little potentially less clear, but it got there. By the end of the reading, I was like, okay. Okay, reading notes. So it's about this man, John Muir, making a walk when he was approximately 29 to 30 years old. And he made this walk from Kentucky, Tennessee, so starting in Kentucky through Tennessee, small part of North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, and then went on to Cuba. So I guess summarizing, so the walk, but then like the walk itself was Kentucky, Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida. going south. And it was 2 years after the end of the Civil War is what it's brought up as. And so there's a combination of John Muir is really much painted as an environmentalist, and specifically botany, and botany is the study of plants. So there's a lot of like, he saw lilies along the path, or there were thorns here, and sometimes there's like thrown in commentary about how much the Southerners hate alligators and think they're ugly and are the work of the devil. And I was like, wow, in some ways, you know, Southerners haven't changed at all. They're still talking about everybody else is the work of the devil other than them. Right? It's everybody else who's wrong. It's like, right, because this walk was over 150 years ago. So it's like, in some ways, things don't change. And so it's really about how John Muir kind of deepened his spiritual faith with God, or spiritual connection with God, through God's flora creations on the trail, through plants and flowers and stuff like that. It kind of struck an essence of through hiking, in terms of like, the author even brings up at one point in time, he's like going about 20 miles a day and stuff. I'm like, oh, it sounds like through hikers in some ways. Nowadays, through hikers might use YouTube for their documentation instead of a journal, but some of the stuff they might track is the same as like the occasional animal, and then a bunch of like natural landscape, and or like forays into the city, or the flora and like the plants and trees and mosses and vegetation, there we go, vegetation. And so it was kind of like, it struck that tone a bit of like, well, the concept of going on a long walk to like really do some internal, you know, self transformation, self-discovery, get in tune with nature, that kind of stuff, that's alive and well these days. Was he going for a fastest time ever on this route? He wasn't the only person out walking and that kind of stuff, so it was like, I don't know how common it was back then. Through hiking is a really popular thing nowadays. It could be more popular, it could be less popular, but he was not the only person out there walking after the end of the Civil War as well. And he really got to know the people along the trail, like who lived along the trail, which is a bit different than through hiking these days. It's kind of more like just finish the trail, versus his was kind of like longer and really getting to know the people, including staying in the people's houses and stuff. And nowadays it's kind of like, be as antisocial as possible and sleep in a tent and, you know, that kind of stuff. Don't get to know the locals as you go, like don't stay at their house, you know, that kind of stuff. So like as like every night kind of thing, right? So it's very different than modern day through hiking. So that was kind of an interesting one, at least as I've seen presented. I've done through hiking as well, but we didn't, when I went through hiking, there wasn't really locals. It was in Hawaii in a volcanic, like, you know, crater kind of thing. So not quite the same. And I'll link to my through hiking playlist and some related and mentioned items, including playlists. The other thing is it was a different time back then. There was different conditions where he would just interact with the plants or the thorns or whatever. And I was like, nowadays, I am a city child. I've kind of always lived in the city and stuff. And so I'll link to my urban backyard camping, Seattle, April 2022, when I camped in the backyard. That's urban camping. And I was just like reading this and I was like, a lot of the stuff that he talks about couldn't be experienced in the same way nowadays due to urban development. So that's sad in its own way, but good. He likes boats. So if you like, you know, schooners and exploring Florida Keys on small boats or making water voyages. He does that a number of times in this book. So it's like, okay. My family had a boat when I was growing up. It was a motorboat though, not like a sailboat. Yeah. And then let's see, anything else? Yeah, so it's really, and the author puts it into context of like it's really important in terms of his spiritual development. The 1,000-mile walk. So it makes an error in the author makes an error in the select biography where he said Madison, WA, when it was really Madison, Wisconsin, is a publication. This is on page 190. The mistake. And that was creative spelling for Wisconsin, considering Wisconsin has no A in it. It was like WA. He confused Washington State and Wisconsin, which is understandable because he lives in Washington State. So it's just flew out, I guess. Creative spelling for Wisconsin. And then there was another one. which was on pages 204 and 205. He actually references, or is in his notes for the book, A 1,000-Mile Walk to the Gulf. Editor William Frederick, or author William Frederick Bade, with illustrations. New York, Houghton Mifflin, 1916. So 96 years before this book was published, someone else did it before him. A 1,000-Mile Walk to the Gulf, on John Muir. Or some sort of synopsis, even if it was like the notes of John Muir published by somebody else. So in the sense of synopsing this 1,000-Mile Walk, the author does note that's with footnotes, does draw on that reference. I don't know if the editors made him put him in here and he didn't want to put it in, but it's good to know that it's like there was at least one attempt before this to do it, even if just putting stuff together. And then in the index botany, there's like a 1-4, and I went and there's botany on page 4, but it looks like I can't tell if it's a 1 and they forgot the comma. 1, space 4 is what it's supposed to be, or if it's supposed to be, there's an extra space there and it's supposed to be 14, but going back it kind of matched 1, space 4. Okay, botany was actually on page 4 in the index. It's supposed to be like the term is on that page. So there's a punctuation error there. So some spelling, some punctuation, and then yeah, citation to a book that did it before, or articles that were put together and made into a book. So it's not even the first book with the 1,000-Mile Walk in the title about this person. It's like, it's great to remember. John Muir is a very popular person with a bunch of books, in articles, in works kind of dedicated to him. So it's a reminder of how crowded a space it is, but also how empty a space it is. How much room there is for development, right? One book every 96 years on this topic is, well, it's not very much. So there's room for expansion if people wanted to, kind of thing. So it was an enjoyable read. I'm not going to rate it, but it's been fun to do this as like conversation with my parents, just throughout the day, at the dinner table, at the breakfast bar, at the kitchen island, at breakfast, you know, that kind of stuff is, I've actually brought this up as I've read it, and it's been a good one. I didn't get shut down at any point, like, don't bring it up or anything like that, so that was good for that. Yeah, so in conclusion, I enjoyed it. It was Restless Fires, James B. Hunt Young, John Muir's 1,000-Mile Walk to the Gulf in 1867 to 68, and those are my book notes and reading notes from this January 2024 reading from me, Tanis Coralee Leonhardi, and this is my YouTube channel, Tanis Leonhardi. Thank you for watching.